So we have a couple guests today here, both of which have backgrounds in political activism, and without further ado, I want to introduce both of them. First off, we have Dr. Ensani, who is part of various organizations. She has so much to say that I'd like to introduce, she would introduce herself. Thank you, Dr. Ensani, for being on our show.
You're welcome, Shabir. Yes, well, my name is Elaheh Ensani. I am a professor of civil environmental engineering at San Francisco State University, former chair of the department. I'm also president of Applied Technology and Science. It's an engineering firm and technology firm, and a commissioner in City and County of San Francisco on immigrant rights. And I'm also a board member of National Iranian American Council, NIAC.
I'm Roya Soleimani. I'm a senior at UC Berkeley this year, political science and public policy, double major. I've been really in touch with all the Iranian issues going on in the Bay Area. I interned last year at the National Iranian American Council, where Dr. Ensani is a board member, as well as just working on our campus magazine at UC Berkeley, Perspective, which is a cultural Iranian magazine.
Well, the case was that we had our fourth reunion of the Sharif University of Technology Alumni Association. And this is international. People come from all over the world, you know, the alumni who are all over the world, including the professors, actually. They participate. The first one was in 2000 in San Diego, second one in 2002 in Toronto, Canada, the third one in 2004 in Heidelberg, Germany, and we decided this is the time to come to San Francisco. We all knew that visas for those who hold Iranian passport and would need a visa to enter the United States would be a problem. So we started about a year earlier to help people for our association, just basically, you know, write invitations and explain what the reunion is so they could go and apply for visa. 250 applied for visas in various consulars. 150 of the applications were approved. Of those, 120 were granted visas, and 30 were stayed. They're still going through the security clearances. So the 120 who were granted the visas had gone through all the proper and appropriate security clearances of the State Department.
This is back in Iran, or is this, you're talking about everybody
as a whole, but majority were coming from Iran. But we also had people coming from Canada, who one of our board members, who is actually a graduate student in Vancouver, but holds an Iranian passport, people from Sweden and other places. So they had asked for visas, and they were granted, 120 were granted visas. So some had entered, about 40 had entered. Until July 25th, the first case, this person who had obtained his visa from Vienna, Austria, entered LAX, and was told his case is under investigation, and
he was deported.
His visa was revoked, and then he was deported.
And he was the first person that
this happened, that we heard of, and after that, few people had actually entered from ports of New York or Chicago.
I want to ask you guys in your background, why don't we just stop it from the get-go? Why don't we somehow, even if it's one person, why don't we find out about it and help them out? Because I know other groups out there, they're very particular. They jump in and they don't want an issue to happen to them.
We did. In fact, the first case that happened, and in fact, I heard about it because President of SUTA, who was one of my classmates, or my tennis partners at college.
It's a small world.
Well, you know, I'm the Sharif alumni. So his name is Zahid Sheikh al-Islami, Dr. Zahid Sheikh al-Islami. He and I were in intimate contact. So he called me and told me about the case. And that day I called Supervisor Mekarimi, and I said, you know, this is what has happened. And he said, do you want to come tomorrow? There was a rules committee, and I was going to go actually be at that committee. He said, do you want to talk about this, and do you want to do a hearing on that? I think these cases should be open. So I called Zahid back at like 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. and said, well, tell me more about this case, and should we do this? And he and I discussed, and we decided, well, let's see what happens, because we do not want to jeopardize other cases. We really don't know, because he's one of our alumni, but we really don't know what is in one particular case. We did not want to jeopardize any other case, but we stayed vigilant. We stayed on the case. We just did not go public.
When did it take that you guys say we have to take this public?
And Wednesday night, this was Tuesday, July 25th, a week afterwards, that Dr. Hojabri, our founding president, called me again around 10 p.m. at night and said, what's happening is that people are being returned, and that maybe, we don't know what's the case. And I said, well, maybe we should do something about it. And the next day at SFO, I got a call that people are at SFO and they're detained and they don't know what to do. There were about 10. That's when I took 2 lawyers from National Lawyers Guild and went to the airport just to talk to them and just to let them know that we are here and they're not alone, and we are trying, and we're trying to figure out what has happened.
So you were able to talk to the people that were almost being deported?
We could not, because these people, as long as you have not entered the United States, you have no right to counsel. And we sort of knew that, through the lawyers, but we still insisted and talked to several of the officers. There was an officer 2 at the alien registration, and we really insisted. We even tried to be charming, 2 lawyers, three, could you? And he kind of, said, no, let's talk to my supervisor, but that they don't have rights to counsel. And so
این کیس ریشل پروفایلینگ هستش، در حالی که فکر میکنم خیلی ها اینجور فکر کردن، چون که یک جمعیت زیادی بودن، 100-120 نفر، و نمیدونستن که اینا حتی چیکار کردن، فقط به خاطر اینکه از ایران اومده بودن و فقط به خاطر اینکه حتی من شنیدم که میگفتن که چون که یکی از اکسکیوزاشون این بوده که جمعیت زیاد ایرانی توی نمیخواستن یک جا جمع بشن. آیا شما شنیدین همچین توضیحی رو؟
بله، برگردیم به این که اول جواب دومی رو بگم که بله ما تو روزنامه خوندیم. پرس یه جایی نوشته بود که انگلیسی we just didn't want too many of Iranians like this. I think it's ridiculous. خیلی مسخره است که اینطوری ویزا به ندن. اونو ما شنیدیم، ولی کسی که گفته باشه ندید. و برگردم سر این، من نگفتم نیست، من گفتم نمیدونم، برای اینکه I'm not a lawyer, I don't even know what is the definition. میدونید تعریف racial profiling، آیا تعریف racial profiling در اینجاست در آمریکا هست یا outside border یا کسی که میخواد وارد بشه؟ یعنی که I wanted to be very precise. میخواستم خیلی دقیق باشم و برای همین نمیخوام speculate بکنم. What I am is that as a Sharif alumni, as a member of SUTA, we were very surprised. ما برای اینکه خیلی خوشحال بودیم این 120 تا تونستن ویزا بگیرن had gone through this and we totally understand that non-immigrant visas are discretionary. We understand that. یعنی در هر لحظه شما ویزا یعنی که شما حق اینو دارین که تا تمام مرز بیان. ویزا does not mean که شما حتما میتونین وارد بشین، با اینکه در هر لحظه میتونن.
That's interesting. But is it fair that they go detained and go into jail and in prisons is the key?
Human rights. سوال دیگه هم پیش میاد اینه که برای امنیت ملی کجا خط باید آدم بکشه بین حقوق بشر و همین حقوق مدنی و امنیت ملی. That's the big question of the national security versus the civil liberties. Where is that line drawn? But it is a little suspicious that این همه آدمای پروفشنال ایرانی، آدمای تحصیل کرده اومدن برای ریونین اکادمیک، تمام چنل‌های درست رو گرفته بودن، اما وقتی به مرز رسیدن گفتن ببخشید خیلی هم معذرت می‌خوایم باید برگردیم.
جالبه که بدم این دفعه هم آیا همین پروسس بود؟ آیا همونجوری که میگیم مثلا سال 2000 با استیت دیپارتمنت در تماس بودید؟ آیا یونیون این امسال در تماس بود با استیت دیپارتمنت یا نبود؟
نه خیر، نه با استیت دیپارتمنت نتونستیم. البته مثل که نامه نوشته بودن برای خانم رایس تماس گرفته بودن، ولی خب با کانسلرها با دبی در تماس بودن و چند تا از کانسلرها و همینطوری شروع که تونسته بودن فسیلیتیت کنن گرفتن ویزا رو. توضیح دادن که این ارگانیزیشن چیه، سوتا بهش میگیم، شریف یونیورسیتی تکنولوژی اسوسییشن. سوتا چی هست، این ریونیون چی هست و فکر میکنیم که این فسیلیتیت کردیم.
از یک سال قبل بهشون خبرم داده بودیم.
بله
به قولم خیلی هدزاب داشتن که دارن
This happened.
But we do, but just again to say that situation like this doesn't have much to do with us here. That has to do something with the relations between US and Iran. But we got to also understand and have a healthy separation of the fact that we here have rights, and these are our rights. People who come to the borders, their rights, these rights do not extend to those rights. Human rights is a separate issue. Human rights is, our government, United States government, should treat them. We expect them to treat people of other nationalities with dignity.
Exactly. But when there's laws like the Patriot Act that comes in, it does involve us, unfortunately, and does say situations that, you know, they have the right to come and enter your house with authority of the Patriot Act.
Absolutely, but I want really you to speak, but I want to make sure that the audience and us understand to separate Patriot Act for us who are here and people who come to the borders are different. We got to have this healthy. What happened with the Sharif University, we did 80 people, has nothing to do with the Patriot Act, has everything to do with U.S.-Iran relations and the policy and all of that. But it's not part of, we have to, and one of the other things that we need, and this is a great thing, I mean, I love this program because you can do this with the audience, with the young people, is to understand, and also immigrants, because our community is mostly an immigrant community, to help them understand, leave emotions aside, and understand, and see where we are, know our rights. But knowing our rights means not approaching the issues emotionally, but so much as looking at the issues exactly logically and see where we are, where can we get help, and how be resourceful. See, it's not so much to have resources, but it's very important to be resourceful.
Absolutely. Completely agreed. And I think one of the number one is that many Americans in the United States don't necessarily know what their rights are. Aren't familiar as much with the Constitution. They had maybe a class in 8th grade and then senior year of high school. A lot of Americans that grew up in this society aren't familiar, let alone with immigrant communities and then also now Middle Eastern communities who are the spotlight, and because of geopolitics and international relations and what's going on, the focus is so much more on this community.
That's where I think we have to take a little bit more.
A proactive approach.
Exactly. So we've had
absolutely.
generations of various ethnic groups that have scenarios in which, so if before it was us, you know, it's always been historically other ethnic groups, Latino groups, you know, African American groups, the Japanese American groups, the Italian American groups, the Irish Americans. So each one has had issues which they had to surpass and beat. And yes, you're right. The first generation, unfortunately, has to understand. Unfortunately, but they have to understand the situation, the differences between those who are coming back from the home country and those that are living here.
وکلایی که کار میکنه یه مقدار همون اول با نشنال لویرز گیلد بود، پرس کانفرنسی که ما داشتیم با نشنال لویرز گیلد، سوتا بود با نشنال لویرز گیلد و آفیس آقای میرکریمی داشتیم و کاری که ما، یعنی کار اونطوری نیست که ما تصمیم گرفتیم که واقعا we can't do anything for people there. این خیلی مهمه که متوجه باشن، چون اونجا از ما بله گله میکردن، فکر میکردن که ما باید میتونستیم کاری میکردیم. Suta cannot do, will not be able to do anything. ولی چیزی که میتونیم بکنیم که just to raise awareness and to let the people know that the inhuman treatment we really what کاری که نمیخواستیم بکنه که اینطوری تریت نکنه. اگر میخواین دیپورتشون کنی زندان کانتی جیل نفرستینشون که با قاچاقچی‌ها و اینا نزدیک باشن. نگهشون داریم تو هتل ببرینشون ولی نگهشون داریم تایت سکیوریتی. به هر اون کارو میتونیم بکنیم. ولی اینکه من دارم با استیت دیپارتمنت صحبت بکنیم که چرا اینجوری شده. یعنی واقعا سوال بکنیم، صرف این که بدونن که ما اینجا نمیخوایم همچین تریتمنتی باشه و واقعا من فکر می‌کنم هر این گروه ها خوبه که هرچند بیشتر گروه ها دست به دست هم بدن بهتره تا همه نشنال های دیگه که وارد بوردر میشن. As Iranian Americans we do not want such a treatment on anybody but hate the Iranian.
Speaking of the Iranian American Know Your Rights campaign, there's actually the way it's formatted is a question and answer document. So the first question is, what if the police, FBI, or DHS agents contact me? And it's, do I need to talk to them? Do I have to answer questions? Because you are on American soil, because if you are a citizen or you are living here, you are working, you automatically have right to legal counsel. Unless they cannot search your home without a warrant. Now, once again, Patriot Act does confound the situation a little bit because a lot of them scare you and say, well, if you don't come with me, you might be deported, you might take your family, we're going to be able to do it anyway. But at the same time, everyone watches all the legal shows. You know that a lot of it is rhetoric at the same time to make sure that people, it's a scare tactic in many ways. و وقتی یه نفر نگرانه که یه هوی خانواده‌اش is on the line or کارش is on the line, not that they're necessarily giving in, but they become complacent to the situation. So if they know the community is backing them, if they know that they have a collective voice, there's a little less nervousness, and also if they know where they stand. So
what are those questions?
So for example, do I have to answer questions asked by agents? And it's, you have the constitutional right to remain silent. You know, you have that
Interesting.
You're not being arrested for anything, and then it goes on, and it very clearly, and the thing is, نگفتم قبلش, this document به فارسی هم نوشته شده, یعنی کاملا همش ترجمه شده و برای accessibility reasons دم دست مردم میتونه باشه.
یه سوال داشتم کجا میشه این داکیومنت رو گیر؟
همونطور که گفتم نایک وبسایتش هست niacouncil.org. این همونطور که گفتم قبلا یه کولیشن گروه‌های مختلف بود. هم از ACLU میشه اینو پیدا کرد، هم رو وبسایت نایک، یا حتی بزنین روی آنلاین Iranian American Racial Profiling, Iranian American Discrimination. قشنگ میاد، یکی از اولین چیزاست که وقتی گوگل میکنین سرچش میاد بالا. و میگم سوالای مختلف هم این تو هست. این برای خود منم به عنوان یه سیتیزن آمریکا برام جالب بود که ببینم اگه احیانا خدای نکرده یه چیزی شد من رایت هم چیه. و you know, what if police stop me in my car? What if the police or FBI threatens me with a grand jury subpoena if I don't answer their questions? جواب اون هست a grand jury subpoena is a written order for you to go to court. بعد قشنگ توضیح میده ولی at the same time هنوز you have a right to a lawyer. So
من این بچه‌های مصری دانشجویان مصری که وارد شدن ظاهرا وقتی شما با ویزای دانشجویی وارد میشید حتما باید تا ظرف 10 روز به دانشگاهی که قرار وارد بشید ریپورت کنید و بگید که من وارد کشور شدم. و خب البته من به نظر من یا باید اینو دیگه قبول بکنیم که ماها همونجوری که رویا جان گفتن روی اسپاتلایت هستیم با توجه به بک‌گراندمون. و حالا من اینو میگم فقط برای اینفورمیشن کسایی که دارن میبینن اطلاع بدن به دوستانشون که حتما اون دستینیشنی رو که به عنوان اون رفتن ویزا گرفتن در نظر داشته باشن و حتما ریپورت بکنن خودشون رو. و این وگرنه این اکستریم کیسی پیش میاد که برای این چند دانشجو پیش اومده و دنبالشون میافتن و مشکلات بعدی ممکنه براشون رو پیش بیاد.
Conclude that it takes steps. From my personal background, it takes steps. You got to start small, maybe do like a local thing at your community center, cultural center. Then take it to the next step, do it with your culture, do it with the people on board, as a group, maybe professionally, as a professional organization, non-profit as well. And then go as a national.
get involved in your articles, your civic community.
So once you're involved in those communities, you could do it with like what do you call it? Interfaith communities, intercultural communities, networking that way. But obviously, like I said, start with the Iranians networking with like we used to have a group Silicon Iran and want to bring that back. Hopefully, and Thai is a great way to network with the Indian entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of realms that we could go, but take it step by step. And the win-win situation is right there for us. So we want to thank our guests for being here. Iranican, we hope they come back in a future show on Hot Topics as usual. Iranican is exclusively on PNN every Saturday, 11 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on PNN. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.